All right, check the mic. Instant reaction. We are live. We just saw the Bills. That thing's over. Onside kick. Bills and Eagles. Eagles get the win 13-12. We just saw the Bills miss on a 2-point conversion. We'll start with that, Sam. I thought this was a big one for the Eagles, even though there was some game flow here that matched the rest of the season. The Eagles get up 13-0, and then the offense punts 5 times in the second half, and the Bills make their second half comeback, but the Eagles held them. Maybe the biggest blocked punt of the year, Jalen Carter. Blocked extra point. Forced the Bills to go for 2. Eagles get the stop, 13-12 with the win.
Yeah, as you said, a real kind of narrative game where it was all Eagles first half and then all Bills second half, and ultimately comes down to one play. Buffalo had to go for 2 because of that blocked extra point. They had the 2-point play. It was open. Allen actually had time as well. Like, he's drifting to his left immediately, but he's not under that much pressure, and he just missed him. And now we've got this whole, Josh Allen clearly was dealing with an injury, rolled his ankle a little bit in the game, obviously wasn't 100%. Almost came all the way back, except the 2-point play to win or lose it, and comes out on the wrong side of it. But this is, it's a playoff game other than the fact that it's, NFC versus AFC, and the only time these two can meet again would be in the Super Bowl. But another one of these late season playoff type matchups between two teams that are going to be there, that deserve to be there, and are clearly good.
So that missed pass and the implications here, Sam, this is instant reaction time. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., we'll go through all of the games in great detail. The implications of that one missed pass by Josh Allen. The first thing is the New England Patriots clinched the AFC East. I think that was probably going to happen anyway. They play Miami next week, but it at least gives New England a chance to rest if they want to. They'll figure out if they want that, if they're playing for the number 1 seed still. That moved Buffalo to the 7 seed, though. And they had the number 5 seed, right? We keep talking about the number 5 seed and wanting to go to either Pittsburgh or Baltimore, which is clearly the weakest playoff team, especially if it's Pittsburgh who's in. And the Bills moved to the 7 seed, which might make them go to New England or Denver, wherever that number 2 seed ends up landing. So I think that 2-point conversion miss by Josh Allen moved them from the 5 seed going to Pittsburgh or Baltimore to the 7 seed going to New England or Denver, most likely.
Yeah. A potentially seriously consequential miss from him, especially, again, because it was open. They had the play dialed up. Shakir was wide open completely in the corner of the end zone. And as I said, Allen rolling to his left, but he wasn't under incredible duress. He just missed him. It's just a critical execution error from Josh Allen, who, I don't want to be too critical on him because he made a ton of big plays. He was trying to be Superman. At times he was Superman in the game, but this was one that he would want to have back and could be a really damaging, just single throw miss from it.
It doesn't mean they're locked into the 7. It's just that's the type of every game matters to that point as far as the seeding goes. They'll play the Jets next week. We'll see if the Bills actually want to rest him because he is banged up. Eagles get the win. We said this was a big one for them to at least prove that they could beat a good team, even though it was ugly. Great defense again for Philadelphia. Again, we'll break it down in more detail tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Some more of the games that had playoff implications. Cleveland Browns get the win 13-6 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers do it again, man. Had the opportunity. They had 5 fourth-quarter drives to either take the lead or tie it, and they got nothing. They got nothing out of it. 0 points, including final incompletion. So the Browns get the win, sets up a showdown. Ravens-Steelers next week. Probably going to be Sunday Night Football, I believe, for the AFC North.
Yeah, so from a neutral perspective, that part's good, right? Is that at least we got some benefit out of this, that we're going to see that final game of the season actually mean something. And honestly, the way I think that everybody would have wanted, this is the way this whole thing has been shaping up all the way through the season. Pittsburgh gets out to this lead, the Ravens are terrible, and then suddenly it's like, but don't, they can come back. Their schedule gets easier. The Steelers aren't actually that great. And ultimately, we're going to see the division come down to this final game between the two of them. So that's good. It is, or was, though, the most obvious Tomlin letdown game of all time. We were talking about it that, yeah, of course, he's going to win the one a week ago. He's going to lose this one, and then he'll win the one at the end of the game, or at the end of the season against the Ravens. And that's how Tomlin makes his playoffs with his, relatively uninspiring record, and then potentially gets bounced, and we're doing this whole dance over again. It just couldn't have been more obvious that this was the game they would find a way of completely not showing up to.
I wasn't the only one who noticed, right, that it did feel like they were so worried about Myles Garrett breaking the record that
Everybody
the
did.
whole offense was in shambles. I mean, Rodgers, it was almost like when he got sacked by Alex Wright, he was like, make sure Garrett, he knew where Garrett was every time, which is, good offense generally, but not to the point where you're not even looking downfield and you're not hitting throws. And the number of like behind the line of scrimmage completions that Rodgers threw just to avoid a sack and still take a negative 3-yard loss, it was hilarious.
That's the thing. It's like, look, some people have made the point that, well, you think they'd have had an even better chance of winning the game if they just let Myles Garrett have 5 sacks. It's like, no, but there's a difference between, taking a chance a little bit and potentially allowing Myles Garrett half a tick longer to make a play versus literally the only thing we're focusing on is making sure the ball is gone before Myles Garrett can do anything in the play. And there were so many plays where it really did feel like all Rodgers was focused on is where's Myles Garrett on this play. And the second he gets within, like a motion detector, like the thing in Aliens, right? Where it starts to beep, 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 look at fire, out, doesn't matter where, just get rid of it, get the ball out and gone. And you're right. It was at the expense of actually trying to push the ball downfield further and trying to win the game that they were in trouble in.
I thought Shedeur Sanders, he had 2 interceptions, one tough, tipped pass. The second one was horrendous. I mean, he just really threw an arm punt for no reason. I thought he looked really good overall, though. Again, they scored 13 points and they didn't score a touchdown after Harold Fannin got hurt. Fannin looking outstanding again, missed the game, the rest of the game with a groin injury. But I thought Shedeur looked pretty good in this game, and the Browns defense outstanding once again. So that sets up the showdown next week. I love the way this was positioned. Mike Tirico gets to announce 3 things tonight. It's the playoff. I don't even know if it's a playoff schedule. It's like when they're going to announce the Week 18 games, who gets the Week 18 games, and where where they all are. So we'll find out tonight. We're thinking Sunday Night Football though for Steelers and Ravens. Let's talk a little NFC South because they got their own showdown next week. Seattle Seahawks beat the Carolina Panthers 27-10. The Panthers they needed a win and a Bucs loss to get in. The Bucs loss happened. But Seattle pulled away in the second half. It was 3-3. Ugly game, but Seattle's defense just too much in this one.
Yeah, I mean, both defenses were playing really good. For a while, it looked like we were going to get that sequence of events that needed to happen. Carolina looked like they were going to shock Seattle for a bit, and Tampa Bay never looked that likely to beat Miami in that game. They were always pretty bad in that game. But yeah, as you said, like in the second half, the Seahawks pulled away. I think ultimately they sort of found, the limits of the Carolina defense, which certainly for the first half and actually a little bit beyond that was playing really well. I mean, they were putting Seattle in some ugly situations, third and longs, and eventually they just made some really nice plays. Darnold made a couple of really big throws again. Like it's funny, other than the game where he melts down, right? And we've had one of those this year as opposed to 2 last year. But other than those games, he has shown this remarkable streak of resilience where even when he's taking a beating, even when there's some ugly plays in there, even when there's some bad stuff happening, he then comes back late in the game and just fires an absolute dart somewhere, right over a guy's shoulder or whatever. And he did that in this game as well, like put an absolute dime to JSN, I think over JC Horn towards the sideline on the run. I mean, the Seahawks are impressive.
Zach Charbonnet with a big game, 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. So with the Panthers lost, they're 8-8. They're going to play the Bucs next week because the Bucs lost to the Miami Dolphins. They were going to play anyway, but this means the division's on the line other than one crazy scenario, which we'll talk about in 1 second. But the Dolphins beat the Bucs 20-17. Bucs fall to 7-9. They're now 1-8 since their bye. 1-8. Haven't won a game since late October, Sam. Or they've won 1 game since late October. It was against the Cardinals. And the Bucs are playing for the division next week. But they lose to the Dolphins. Quinn Ewers with some nice plays in there. Baker Mayfield, though, the turnovers showed up once again in this one.
Yeah, it's weird. Baker, like the scrambling thing is still there. I mean, all of the good plays that he made almost in this game were crazy scrambles, bouncing around in the pocket, somehow escaping something and making miracles happen on the ground. But it's like anytime the ball is put in the air, it just doesn't go well at all. And I struggle to think that that's the shoulder because it feels like if the shoulder is that problematic, then how the hell is he doing what he's doing on the ground, scrambling and taking hits and fighting his way out of contact and still making stuff happen? But I don't have a better explanation for what the hell is going on. But like, he's just off target with almost everything. Like him and this receiving core, which is now healthy, can't get on the same page. It's just the passing game has disappeared.
So the Bucs are 7-9. They're in shambles. Dolphins moved to 7-9. The Bucs and Panthers play next week. It's almost certainly going to be winning in. However, there is a scenario where if the Falcons win tomorrow night against the Rams and then next week against the Saints, that would seal it for the Panthers. So if the Falcons, it would make that game irrelevant because at worst they would all be 8-9, and the three-way tiebreaker would go to the Panthers.
Okay. So Carolina wins a three-way tiebreaker.
Three-way tiebreaker, right? Because even if the Bucs won next week, they would be 8-9, Panthers 8-9, and if the Falcons win tomorrow night against the Rams and then next week against the Saints, they're all 8-9, and the Panthers have the three-way tiebreaker. But most likely,
those games will happen simultaneously, I would assume.
I would say that obviously the Rams are most likely to win against the Falcons tomorrow night, so this could be moot. But if the Falcons pull the upset tomorrow night,
right,
chances are it'll be at the same time. Falcons and Saints, Panthers and Bucs. So we're still going to potentially have a game that feels like it's for everything, but there's a chance that the Panthers could still sneak in even with a loss.
Well, yeah, the crazy scenario there would be Tampa Bay winning that game, thinking they've made the playoffs, and then 30 seconds later finding out Atlanta screwed them, and they get bounced out even with the win and in game.
And Atlanta still needs to beat Seattle. I mean, the Rams tomorrow night for this to happen. But
yeah, I mean, I don't anticipate getting that far, but
the game's in Tampa too, right? So like a lot of times what happens is they turn off the scoreboard. They don't let you know. They don't want the players looking. So could set up for an interesting scenario next week. Either way, I think we've got two play-in games. The AFC North, Ravens, Steelers, the NFC South, Panthers, and Bucs. Rest of the league, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars clinch their playoff spot, and the South with the 12-4, moving to 12-4. Right? Do they have the tiebreaker next week? I got to confirm that. But they get the win against the Colts. Colts fall to 8-8 with Phillip Rivers. Jags hold on. It was a feisty game for the Colts, though.
Yeah, it was. Their defense was better this week for the majority of the game. They were getting after Trevor Lawrence early, and then it fell apart late in the game, really on both sides of the ball. Fell apart on defense a little bit. Trevor Lawrence got back into his groove and started making some really key plays again. Also, like one of the drives or one of the plays that they made was Jacksonville just goofing the execution on a hook and lateral play, which set them up, and that's where they got one of their touchdowns from. And then Old Man Rivers, for the second week in a row, got on the rookie mistake. He made the same check at the line again, and then for the second week in a row, a linebacker knew what was coming and got in front of the ball, picked him off again.
Yeah, it was rookie mistakes. Plus,
like
the arm.
He announced that at his press conference, and it's like, if that's the second week in a row that's happened, maybe you should stop doing that.
Yeah, not great. We still have a chance, I believe, that the Texans could win the South. Again, somebody fact check me on that, right? If the Texans beat the Colts next week and the Titans beat the Jags, but the Jags one step closer, they're at least in the playoff picture and have a chance to. They still have this outside chance at the number 1 seed, too. At 12-4. So they remain extremely hot in Jacksonville with their win. The Texans win yesterday kept them from clinching the South officially, though, here today. What else do we have here? Couple games that didn't mean a ton. Cincinnati Bengals 37-14 over the Cardinals. I think the biggest news out of this is like the Cardinals' absolute disaster down the stretch here, getting closer and closer to the top pick. And I wonder if that is Jonathan Gannon's job, the way this thing has collapsed during second half here for the Cardinals.
It's been bad, and it particularly because for a lot of that, there was the passing numbers have been great. Like Jacoby Brissett with this crazy all passing all the time type of offense. Like it had been much more exciting than the Kyler Murray offense, but it wasn't necessarily any more effective, and they were losing all these games. And then that disappeared in this game. And it's not like they played a defense where the Bengals defense just showed up and you got this amazing performance. Like the touchdown they did get to Michael Wilson on the sideline was some of the most disgraceful defensive tackling and angles and everything from the Bengals you're ever going to see. Like I would cut people off the back of that play. And yet they still weren't able to put up a ton of points. And what we expected to be kind of a shootout Like the Bengals offense showed up with their side of the shootout, and the Cardinals did not.
One of the more dominant offensive performances you'll see, New England Patriots 42-10 over the Jets. Patriots scored 6 straight touchdowns on their first 6 drives. And then I believe Drake May came out of the game and rested. Breaking records as far as EPA and QBR. Drake May goes 19 of 21 for 256 and 5 touchdowns, a near perfect passer rating of 157. But all of the advanced numbers, we're calling this one of the better games you'll ever see, as the Patriots completely dominated the Jets, moved to 13-3. As I said, they clinched the AFC East for the first time since 2019.
Yeah, our friend Arif Hassan tweeted, "This is embarrassing even by the Jets standards." And that there's definitely a part of that in this game. But, I mean, the Patriots are really good. Drake May made a bunch of incredible plays. Stephon Diggs is making an insane number of plays in the last couple of weeks. He went up and absolutely Stephon Diggs mossing a guy like Stiggers, at corner down the field is not something you necessarily expect to see, given the size and strength disparity between those two. But that's what he's doing the last couple of weeks. He looks phenomenal. Remember when he was supposed to be absolutely done? That was before the knee injury. He looks fantastic. Drake May is burnishing an MVP case. And, even though it was the Jets and they absolutely look like they've tapped out and they're already on a beach somewhere mentally, it was still really impressive by the Patriots.
What else? And those with Matt Collins going on IR, I think surprisingly, just late this week. So missing, one of their top receivers and didn't miss a beat this week.
And missing the social media walk-in post when he's barefoot in the snow.
We've got the New Orleans Saints 34-26 over the Titans. 4th straight win for the Saints, playing themselves right out of a top 10 pick. But Tyler Shuck, man, another late comeback for Shuck, 22 of 27 for 333 and 2 touchdowns through the air. I thought this was a sneaky fun game between the two first-round pick, the two almost first-round pick and Shuck, but the two rookies. And Shuck, man, looks really good once again for the Saints.
Yeah, like a couple of the games this week that on paper, in terms of these teams have nothing to play for. They got young quarterbacks that haven't been playing, phenomenal football necessarily. A couple of those were the best games of the week. I mean, this was awesome. Like Cam Ward made a couple of absolutely amazing plays, had another one taken away from him by a stupid replay where it turns out his knee was technically down when he made a ridiculous Patrick Mahomes diving throw out to his left that we haven't seen that much from this season. Let him have it. Rule of cool. It should have stood. Don't look at that. Leave it go. But he made a bunch of big plays, and then Tyler Shuck executes the comeback, obviously aided by the right howitzer of a leg of Charlie Smith hitting from 56 and 57-yard field goals.
Which one did he miss?
Did he miss this week?
He missed. I meant to message you. He missed at least one. Right? Where are they? One miss. It was not that. It was in like the 40s, I think.
Yeah. Should have been hit from 56 and 57.
Yeah. Sorry, your guy.
Another game
awesome.
Ball.
Also,
now,
great.
Admittedly,
Chase Young with an awesome play, straight up took the ball from Cam Ward, returning
and then
for a touchdown.
Ran the entire way, holding the ball just like this in his right hand. You're like, dude, would you there's people chasing you down. Would you put that away?
Dude, there was a reason why he was in this Myles Garrett, Bosa level of blue chip prospect. We haven't really seen it all the way through his career, but that kind of play was like, oh, I get it with Chase Young and where that came from.
He's running like 50 yards downfield with like wide receivers running after him. I'm like, this ball is going to get knocked out the second anybody catches it.
And then the game that influenced the NFL maybe more than any other this week, the New York Giants, 34-10 over the Las Vegas Raiders. It was the Tank Bowl. I thought it would be more competitive, Sam. I was excited for a nice competitive game battling for the #1 overall pick, but the Raiders tanked harder, and they did a good job.
Well, they tanked harder, and I also think that just generally this season, they haven't really been in the same ballpark in terms of competence as football teams. Like, I think the Giants are just a better football team than the Raiders, who have been genuinely miserable this season. And, I mean, the absolute driven off a cliff decline of Geno Smith this year is something to be studied. I mean, obviously, that offensive line is a huge part of it, but, like, dude, Geno is just absolutely miserable, the play that he's executing this season, like just throwing the ball to defenders left and right. I mean, we said earlier in the year, like he was a little bit unlucky in terms of basically every turnover worthy play he had was actually resulting in a turnover, which doesn't usually happen. But it's the it's the magnitude of the turnover-worthy plays. It's like, it's not just how many, it's that every one of them that he has is like one of the worst plays you're ever going to see from a quarterback.
Disastrous, like thrown right to the defense or whatever it might be. It's
like, it's like the opposite of what we said the other week when Darnold played the Rams, right? It's like, yeah, they were two really bad mistakes. However, they were both really, really clever defensive plays that just beat him, right? You're like, you can't excuse it. Be like, I understand why he threw an interception on those plays. Geno's just like looking at a guy playing zone coverage and firing the ball at the linebacker. You're like, there's no excuse for that. They didn't do anything creative. They didn't fox you. They just stood there and waited for you to throw him the ball.
So Raiders are sitting here at 2-14. We've got 4 teams at 3-13, including the Giants, the Jets, Titans, and then the Cardinals. I do not have all of the tiebreakers handy. I don't know if I don't believe the Raiders locked this up because they do play the Chiefs next week. Right.
But the important thing is if the Giants had lost, they would have locked it up.
Yeah.
So this actually, for potentially the second time in a couple of years, won the Giants away from the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. Last year they dominated the Colts. I mean, they just looked unbelievable like they did. They looked pretty good in this game too. I thought the Raiders started to make a bit of a comeback. Then the Deontay Banks returns a kickoff return. I was like, well, the Raiders kick coverage team got the memo, right? They knew maybe we should check. Maybe they only had 9 players out on the field. Special teams coach is getting a pay raise.
The chat's discussing the Max Crosby thing. Yeah, Max Crosby has an injury that requires surgery, but Max Crosby did not believe that needed to take place now. He was perfectly prepared to wait until the offseason. So the Raiders shut down Max Crosby, contrary to Max Crosby's wishes, who had been playing with this knee injury most of the season. That's the dilemma here.
And both teams, I mean, we recorded on Friday, but even since Friday, they started shutting down Crosby, shutting down Thomas. They were shutting down as many people as possible with 2 weeks to go here.
It's not that it's like a figment, it's a fake injury. It's a real injury, but Crosby had been playing through it anyway and was perfectly willing, if not eager, to play through it the last couple of weeks as well, and they went no.
So the reason why it's not locked up, Raiders play the Chiefs next week. Chris Oladokun, who we saw, I mean, they struggled to move the ball. It was Denver. Yeah. They've struggled 2 weeks in a row to move the ball. Like, that's not a gimme for the Chiefs. And so it's not a gimme that the Raiders will have the number 1 overall pick. So still it was a great tank ball this week, but we still have more to figure out in week 18. Can't wait for Mike Tirico to announce when he's going to announce the schedule. I'm excited to hear when the schedule is going to be released. So check it out here during Sunday Night Football. Excited for a little Bears Niners. Appreciate everybody being here for our instant reaction. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. sharp, every game, all the way back to Christmas Day. See you tomorrow morning. Check the mic.